Well, good news, Bert. We're back on time. I think maybe the person in this room with probably the most infectious personality is the guy that's coming up here in a second. I talk to Bert as often as I can, and I wish it was more often. But you would be hard-pressed to find anybody who is more passionate, not only about what we do, but in life in general, as Bert Harvin. He's one of the, Bert and Debbie were a couple of the first people to do this after Joe got it off the ground. The two of them probably have more experience than anybody else. And what they bring to the table is not only knowledge, but a passion for what we do. And frankly, I don't know if it could be topped by anybody else. So I know if I could, I would just have Bert do all the presentations at the conference, but he doesn't sign up for that. So that's why a lot of us have to get up here and talk. But please enjoy this. Listen to what he has to say, because they've been running this business successfully for 10 years now. So Bert, come on up, share with us your knowledge.
Thank you. By the way, there is plenty of fluff as far as time in the schedule, so we're good. I played a half-hour break, which we don't need, so we're good. Everything okay, Jimmy? You good? That ice is pretty tricky. Thank you, Andrew. Is this okay? Yeah. Kevin, this is how you sounded, just so you know. Just so you know. We normally start planning these things out months in advance, and I'll start making a list of things that that people suggest, and this is a talk that I really wanted to give, and it was one of those things where I'm just going to make sure that it's on the agenda, because I see it as something that's just overlooked, and really sometimes people don't understand the importance of this. And it looks like a boring topic, doesn't it? Like, well, it's kind of boring, the presentation questionnaire. But no, it plays a big role. Like Joe said, I think it sets up your entire relationship with your sponsors. So, when I interviewed pretty much everyone in this room, and a lot of you asked me, well, what percentage of people say no when you do an appointment? Because recall back when you were being interviewed, right, there was this unknown. And a lot of you do ask me, well, how many people say no when you present this business? And I don't say my stats because it would be misleading. It's never. I've never had a no. And Charlie is the same way. I've never had a no. I've had a yes that for some reason, the president or the superintendent's brother owns a mattress store. And I've never had a no. And I look at stats. And I look at schedules, because I do have the schedules each week, and I'm just amazed at the number of tentatives we have on the schedules. And I just didn't understand it. How can there be tentatives on there for that long, and how can they fall? So I wanted to talk about it. And write this down. And this, I kind of summarizes what my talk's going to be. The most important part of the initial appointment, and we're going to role play this, so got to pay attention, you're going to be doing it. The most important part of the initial appointment, everybody got that so far?
Yep.
Is everything that happens before you start it. So the most important part of the initial appointment is everything that happens before you start it. If you're getting, and this is, I'm not saying you personally, but just in general, if someone's getting more than 10% no's, it's not the company they're saying no to. They're buying you before they buy CFS. Because they're sizing you up. Do I want to work with this person? And if it's a no, it doesn't matter what you say. If they think you're not the kind of person for them, it doesn't matter how good you are as a company, they're not going to do it. So if you're getting a bunch of no's, if you're getting a bunch of tentatives that kind of fall away, you're probably not following up. But it's not the company. They're not buying, they always buy us, right? So you should almost never get a no. So in an appointment, when I walk in there, I'm not worried about getting a no. I don't say I never get them. In my mind, as I walk in, I'm trying to think, when should I put them in? When in the schedule am I going to slot them? Does that make sense? So my attention isn't on getting a yes. My attention is trying to think about getting to know them, and also how am I going to put them into our schedule. So this is a quick little thing on how not to do it.
Hello, Mr. Johnson. It's Jim, isn't it? Can I call you Jim? Wow. Great. Look, Jim, thank you for taking time out of your busy day to sit down with me today. Really appreciate it. You play golf? I play golf. We should get on the lake sometime, hit that ball around. And these are your children, I imagine. I've got two myself. Precious little guys. Looks like we've got so much in common, you know. Like we should be brothers from a different mother or something, you know. Jimbo. All right. Now that we've gotten to know each other, let's get down to business, shall we? Now, Jim, if you don't mind me asking, what keeps you up at night? You know, besides the little woman, but she's a firecracker. No, but seriously, Jim. Consolidated Industries down the road is a very similar company to yours. And Fred down at Consolidated couldn't sleep either. And it wasn't because of his little woman either. You know what I mean? You do know what I mean. All right. Now, Jim, we've assembled a very aggressive proposal for you today. If you take a look at page 124 here, you will see outlined a very attractive offer in the form of a deep 15% discount if we can get a firm, non-cancelable order from you today. What do you say? We got a deal? Jim? I can see that you are a shrewd negotiator. 25%. What do you say? 25%, Jim. Jim, this is a great deal. 25%. All we need is a non-cancelable firm order from you today. That's it. 25. Jim, you're letting me down, man. You are letting me down. Stay at the table, though. This is just beyond my approval authority, so I'm gonna have to talk to my sales manager. Just give me a second. Hey, yeah, I'm down here with Jim. Yes, and he is a tough negotiator. But, you know, I think we could get a deal if we could get him to about 50%. Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, absolutely. 50%, not a percentage more. Agreed. I talk to you soon. Bye. Good news, Jim. Okay, here is my final offer. I have secured an unprecedented discount approval. Are you ready for this? 55%! No, what? Think about this. We got a deal, Jim? We got a deal? Jim, we've got a deal? You don't. Jim! This is excellent news. You know what? I will have the paperwork drawn up, sent over. We'll take care of it. It has been a pleasure doing business with you today. You know what? I'm gonna let myself out here, and maybe I'll look into golf next weekend after. We'll set something up. It'll be great. That's it. Good doing business with you, Jimbo. You're a good man.
I just wonder how often we look like that. You know, who wants to sell more? In that example, right?
Right.
How many words did that guy say? Like the customer, how many times did he speak? 0. He came in, he went through his stuff, and I think sometimes we can do that, where we just get there and we're so worried about our presentation, we forget what we're really there for. That's to build a relationship and to build trust. So don't do that. Again, if that was real, what are the chances that guy would be a customer long term? Not at all, right? So it doesn't matter what he's selling because the way it's being sold is awful. So look at your initial presentation differently. So what I want to do is talk about that pre-appointment, which is the questionnaire. So write this down as well. Under the most important thing about the appointment is everything that happens before that. Is spend your time in the presentation thinking about when they should run their sale. To me, that's what it's all about. And then Chris and Rob gave Chris and Rob talked about that, and one of the things I think that people don't do is they don't go in there with a strategy. You know, I want to fill my summer, I want to fill my January. So in the presentation, we tailor our presentation to make them want the summer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So anyway, so when I go into an appointment, I'm really just trying to figure out when is the best time for them. Sometimes sponsors will ask me, and this is, you know, later in the presentation, but they'll say, when is the best time to do this? You guys have heard that, right? Does it matter when we do this? I'm like, you know what? It doesn't. It doesn't matter when you do it as far as the year goes, but there is a better time to do it. And that is about a month or two after I'm in front of all your parents. So it doesn't matter when that is in the year, but, you know, once I get in front of all the parents, it needs to be around a month or so after that. And we'll talk about that later. So that's how I look at scheduling them. So anyway, the initial questionnaire. So when I walk in the door, and you guys have this in your folder, it should be the last copy. If you want to grab this, because we're going to role play it. And I want to have you jot a couple things down that are a little bit tweaked. So see where it says opening questionnaire, coaches, sponsor, that big black type? Above that, write this. College, their college. So this is stuff I talk about before I start the initial questionnaire. I move up the first question. How long have you been with the program? I kind of do that. And a lot of the stuff you can find out on their website, but I still want to ask them. Number 3 is, where were you before this? And number 4 is, do you know? So those are things I talk about before I even get into the questionnaire. So, college, how long have you been at this program? Where were you before? And do you know so-and-so? So what I'm trying to do here is try to get some commonality. I'm trying to find out if they know someone. I want to get to know them a little bit. So here's what it would look like. I'm going to have my lovely wife, Debbie. She's a band director at Sycamore High School. So I walk into the room, and I introduce myself, and I sit down, and say, you know, before I start what I do, let me just find out a little bit more about you guys, because I want to make sure that I do the best I can to help your program. So I think on the website, you said you went to Miami University. So are you from the area, or did you grow up in the Cincinnati area, or did you move in town?
Out of area.
Are you out of area? Okay, so you moved here. So you went to Miami and then just stayed here. How long have you been here at Sycamore?
About 5 years.
5 years, okay. Where were you before that? Do you have another place you did before that, or were you? Talawanda. And how long were you there?
4 years.
So you've been 9 years. So you probably know, you know Kirsten Showers up at Wayne High School?
Yeah, I met her at band director.
Yeah, because you seem about the same age. She's worked with us for like 6 years. They made probably 35, 40 grand. Yeah, she went to Miami. I got also too, Dave Iannelli. He's a local guy. He's 11. Do you know Dave?
Yeah, I met him.
Do you guys like do stuff together, like clinics or?
We just spent a couple director conference.
Okay, cool. Yeah, he's done this also for like 6 years, and he's made probably, I think their best seller ever, they made like 9 grand. So yeah, I know a bunch. We work with probably 50 schools in the area, so you probably know a lot of people we work with. So that's how I start. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's the pre-questionnaire. So what I want to do there is just get them to relax a little bit, and they're judging me, so I want them to, you know, this is a good dude. I want that to happen before I get into work. So, where'd you go to college? And again, I probably know this already, but I do want to ask to get them talking. I don't want to be that guy, right? I do want to get them to talk. And through this, you'll find commonality. And if you work with a lot of band directors, you guys, they all know each other. They all know each other. I mean, they go and they'll judge each other's stuff. They're in competitions together. They know each other. So the first few minutes, where'd you go to college? How long have you been here at Sycamore? Where'd you go? Where were you before that? And then do you know? So through that process, and it's amazing, they just relax. And now I'm ready to go. So I want to go through this. There's a couple things that I want to add to this as well. So now, once I've done that, I say, so how many kids do you guys have in your program? And they'll tell me, and I'll say now, and then also if it's like, you could put on the also / junior high or middle school. So when you do fundraising, Debbie, do you guys normally include the junior high, or how do you guys do that?
We try to include the junior high.
So if we wanted to have a better sale, you could do that. Okay, cool. See, I'm just setting everything up, right? How does your season look this year? And then the next thing is very important. Tell me about your parents / but also add in there, how many go to meetings? Like when you have a booster meeting, Debbie, how many people typically show up? You know, how's the support? And I put / how's the support? See, I'm trying to find out if this is the right program for me, right? So Debbie, how many parents do you have, or how many students in your band?
We have about 150.
Now, how about the junior high? Do you guys do stuff together?
We include them, it'd be about 300.
Okay, so we could do stuff. Okay, cool. So now in my head, right, that's done. So we're going to do it together. Now, as far as parents go, how many people on your boosters?
Boosters, there's probably about 20 in the executive board, probably about 50 that go to meetings.
So if you have a meeting of 50 showing, that's pretty good. So is your support pretty good?
Yeah.
And do you guys have like a Facebook page and all kind of communication? Okay, so if we want to get stuff out to people, do you have like a super mom that handles all communication?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So all this stuff's getting done, right? You guys are not excited at all, either.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Okay. No, so what I'm doing here, I'm just going through my checklist, right? So we're going to have both. We're going to have junior high and middle school. I know when the meetings are they're pretty supportive. The next part, what fundraisers have you done in the past? And this is really, really, really important. You ask that question, but you also ask, when do you do them? Now, why do I want to know that? I don't want to do it when they're doing something else. So, and I spent some time here. So Debbie, what do you guys typically do for fundraisers?
Sell cookie dough, candles.
Cookie dough. So you have a lot of cookie dough in the fridge? A lot of candles in the closet? Yeah.
My concession stand all year long.
Oh, that's awesome. So you get to buy stuff and then take it all, yeah, inventory. So what are your biggest couple fundraisers?
Tag day.
Tag day?
And probably the pretzels.
The pretzels, oh yeah, the pretzels. Now when do you do? Is tag day like in the summer?
We did that in August.
In August, okay. And then when do you do your pretzels?
In December.
Okay, so those are the 2 times you probably don't want to do anything else, right? Okay. So do you see what I'm doing? Okay. And then how much do you make, obviously? What do you dislike? Yes, of course. What are your current needs? And this is something too. I say, you know, as I work with people, and this is in the second to last box. You know, as I work with groups, one of the things I've seen over the years is that groups that have a specific thing they want or they can promote, their sales a lot better. You know, for example, I'm telling the coach this. This is before I even start my appointment, right? So Debbie, what are some of your needs? What are the things you guys need or would want to have? If you had, you know, 5, 10 grand, what would be on your bucket list for stuff?
Probably would like to get our box truck wrapped to look like our school.
Okay.
I could also use the scissor lift. For
Okay.
lifting up.
Okay, for when they practice, okay. The reason I asked that, Debbie, is we've done this for 11 years. Literally worked with hundreds of schools. And what we've seen is that if a group has a specific goal, the parents rally and it's more successful. For example, at a sale with the school elder band, they're like 65 kids. You know, elders known for their sports, not for the music. But they were going to Florida. And their biggest goal was to make $11,000 to pay for one of their buses, because it was all self-funded. And in that sale, that was their big goal. And I said, well, you have to sell like 100 mattresses to do that. And actually, they sold 105. They were just so passionate. And they got it. And the next year, they got a new director. There wasn't really a goal. We did like 40. So that's an example of why it's important to have something tangible. So just to kind of review, so we're going to have this with your junior high and your high school. Don't do it in August or December. And you want to wrap your truck. Okay, cool. And then I start my appointment. It's already done. Is there any doubt they're going to say yes? So then you finish up here and you go through, you know, what's the process, and I'll ask them. So you know, as far as getting this done, what's the process for getting things approved? Is it just walk down to the principal? Is there a form to fill out? How do you, Debbie, we're role playing still.
I have to ask the principal.
Okay, all
I'm
right,
taking boosters.
okay, cool. So then I say, great, let me just talk about what we do, and I start my presentation. But you see, that is the whole key. If you're not getting yeses and enthusiastic yeses, then it's not the presentation, it's what happens before that. And I already have everything set up, right? I mean, I know we're gonna run this sale probably in early August before their tag day, or maybe, you know, late September. I know we're gonna have, I know everything. So when I go back to the confirmation meeting now, like, this is all done. I know there's a super mom that does all the emails, and it's all settled. So if you look at this differently than just doing a questionnaire, I think you'll have a lot more success. So with that, we are blazing ahead of schedule. Why don't we role play real quick? Or you want to take a break and then role play?
No.
Just role play real quick, okay. This will just be very quick. So pair up with someone. So what I want you to do is go through this. And then I'll wrap things up, then we'll take a break and we're ahead, all right?